Okay, we're continuing the journey to Atlantis, starting on page 19, which is the 4th chapter. Leopold and Paulina so many mysteries. Leopold and Paulina carried the strange boy to Mouthboard Academy and gently placed him on a bed in one of the empty rooms. Ellie ran to fetch the school doctor. He quietly examined the patient. "He's simply sleeping very deeply," the doctor announced a few minutes later. "You just need to keep him warm and wait for him to wake up. Who is he?" "We don't know," Paulina replied. "He doesn't even have a wallet," Leopold added, "or a phone." All four rodents were quiet for a moment. Then the doctor felt the edge of the golden tunic. "I've only encountered fabric like this in a museum," he said thoughtfully. "But it's so unusual, there's no mistaking it. This tunic is made of sea silk." "What is that?" Pauline asked. "It is a very rare fabric made from the fibers of a kind of mollusk," the doctor explained. "You mean from a creature with a shell, like a clam or a mussel?" asked Leopold. "The fisher mouse." "Exactly," the doctor cried. "These fibers are even finer than silk, and the fabric is light yet warm. It is quite precious." "So this must be someone very important," Leopold guessed. The doctor nodded. "Perhaps," he said. "It's strange, though. Sea silk hasn't been produced anywhere for many years."
And let's let him see the picture. Move the book over a little bit. It's hard to see the ones over there. There we go. Okay.
"How odd," Ellie said. "Well, there's nothing more I can do now," the doctor said. "Watch over him and contact me if anything changes." He and Leopold left, but Paulina and Ellie stayed behind with the sleeping stranger. They were quiet for a moment. "What an unusual necklace he has," Ellie remarked. Paulina leaned over to look. Strung around the boy's neck was a blue stone set in a circle of red metal. The back of the stone was embossed with an unusual circular design. Curious, Paulina reached out to touch the medallion, and at the same moment, the boy's eyelids fluttered. He began to speak in a soft whisper, but the words were in a language he had never heard before. Then his eyes closed again and he fell back to sleep. "What did he say?" Ellie asked. Paulina shook her head. "I didn't understand him. Did you?" "It sounded more like music than words," Ellie remarked. Paulina was more puzzled than ever. "This is too much for just us to handle," she said. "We need the help of the Thea sisters." Friends to the rescue. Hello. Polly, can you hear me? Colette, is that you?" "Yes, but I'm about to board a plane for the Caribbean." Caribbean, however you say it, Colette replied. "I spent an hour at the baggage checkpoint. They tried to stop me from bringing my bottles of conditioning cream. Don't they know the importance of well-maintained fur?"
Well-maintained.
At the other end of the phone, Paulina smiled. But there was no time to chat about fur styling. "Coco, I'm sorry, but there's an emergency here," she said. She quickly explained the situation to her friend. "It was very mysterious," Paulina said. "He woke up and uttered some incomprehensible words, but then he went back to sleep." "Well, of course he's tired. He just got shipwrecked," Colette replied. Paulina sighed. "He doesn't have any identification on him, except for a strange jewel around his neck. I really don't know what to do." Colette looked at the boarding pass in her paws. Her plane was going to take off in 10 minutes. She closed her eyes and imagined the white beaches and clear waters of the Caribbean. But Paulina sounded so worried that she knew what she had to do. "All right," she agreed. "I can be back at Mouseward tomorrow." "Oh, thank you, Colette," Paulina cried with relief. "Have you told the others yet?" Colette asked. "No," Paulina replied. "I was just about to call Violet." "Then I'll call Pam and Nikki." Colette said. I'll see you at the academy. Once we're all together, we can figure this out. By the next day, all of the Thea sisters were back on the Whale Island. Thank you so much for giving up your vacations, Paulina said gratefully as she led her friends down the hallway. Someone is in trouble, and there's a mystery to solve. We couldn't say no, Nikki said firmly. Colette nodded. That's right, and besides... But she stopped mid-sentence as Paulina opened the door to the boys' room. The other Thea sisters gasped as they saw the boy with the blue skin for the first time. The sleeping boy looked as though he had been carved from ice. His face was perfectly still with a peaceful expression. The only sign of life was the slow movement of his chest, which rose up and fell down in a steady rhythm. I'm worried, Paulina said. The doctor said he's a bit weaker than yesterday. Pam moved in to get a closer look. Weaker? Yes, his heartbeat has slowed and his skin is less bright, Paulina explained. Bright? What do you mean? Pam asked. Paulina started to explain about the glow the boy had when she first found him on the beach. While she talked, Nikki leaned in closer to touch his medallion. How beautiful, she whispered. Suddenly the boy began to stir, and his eyes opened slowly. Nikki jumped in shock. The room was quiet as everyone watched to see what the boy would do next. The stranger began to talk in his strange musical language. Confusion filled his eyes when he saw the Thea sisters around him. He tried to sit up, but he was too weak. He collapsed into the pillows and closed his eyes again. Oh no, not again! You need to stay awake, Pam said, lightly shaking his shoulders. Paulina was scared. Pam, what are you doing? She cried. But she relaxed when the boy opened his eyes again. That's more like it, Pam exclaimed. She helped him sit up in the bed, and the other Thea sisters began to talk all at once. What he needs is a sip of some herbal tea, Violet suggested. Or maybe a relaxing bath with some essential oils, said Colette. Nikki shook her head. Air! He needs fresh air. I'm going to cook him a nice pizza, offered Pam. Shh, Paulina warned. Then she looked right into the boy's eyes. Why don't we ask him what we should do? The universal language. Everyone was quiet for a moment. Then Pam asked, How are we going to communicate with him? We don't understand anything he says. And from the way he's looking at us, I would say he's having the same problem, Nikki added. They all thought for a moment. Maybe we could act out what we're trying to say, Paulina suggested. Mouselips gave it their best shot, but acting out questions like, Who are you? And Where are you from? Wasn't easy. Maybe he's weak from hunger, Pam guessed. So they asked Midge Whale to make some macaroni and cheese. But even though the Thea sisters thought the food smelled delicious, the boy just looked at it with sad eyes. Maybe where he's from, they eat different food, Violet mused out loud. When I first moved here, I had a difficult time getting used to the flavors that were so different from the food I grew up with in China. I knew we should have gone with a pizza, Pam said. It's the most international food in the world. What if he doesn't like it? Paulina asked. Everyone likes pizza, Pam insisted. I've got it, Colette exclaimed, running out of the room. When she returned, she was holding a pad and some colored pencils. He can draw for us. The blue stranger seemed to understand immediately what the Mouselips wanted him to do, and he reached for the notebook. After a few seconds, he showed them what he had drawn, a few lines that looked like the wavy surface of a sea. Nikki frowned. Yes, we know you come from the sea, she said with a sigh. But Violet had a different idea. Wait, she said, turning to the blue-skinned boy. Fish? Do you want fish to eat? With her paws, she made a motion of eating something. The boy drew some dark green lines underneath the waves. Grass? Plants? Pam guessed. Algae, Violet murmured. He wants algae. Midge Whale frowned thoughtfully. Well, I could try to make some algae soup, she said, and then hurried off. Colette smiled triumphantly. Art is the universal language. See? It worked. Let's keep using it, Pauline suggested. She took the pad from the boy and began to draw some more ocean waves. Then she drew big, dark clouds in the sky and streaks of lightning. Finally, she filled the page with lines to represent the heavy rain. Do you remember this storm? She asked the stranger, pointing to the picture. He nodded and took the pad from her, adding a tiny figure to the water. So he did come from the sea, just as you thought, Nikki commented. She took the pad and drew the outline of a house. Where do you live? She asked. The stranger looked at her for a moment, and then he turned his head away, avoiding eye contact with any of them. He didn't understand that one, Pam said. Or maybe he doesn't want to tell us, added Colette thoughtfully.
Okay, let's stop there. We're going to read more later.
Bye, Benjamin.